everybody. I am so thrilled to have you back here every Tuesday, right here, where we are always opening you to new things, new ideas, new ways of shifting, and also always connecting with your energetic body. We have a special guest with us today, and I'm really happy that he was able to join us because, as you know, we've been going through incredible changes and transformations on the planet, which also means within our body. And one of the things that I do when I went to repair and restore my system over 18 years ago, and many of you know that I grew up very sick and lived basically in the hospitals, and they were band-aiding me together and they told me there was nothing else I could do. So that's when I really dove in and said, okay, there is a whole bunch going on here that I need to go down a rabbit hole. And I'm very, as you know, I'm very cautious and I'm very concerned always about, like you guys, what am I putting into my body and why? About 5 years ago, C60 came onto my table and I sort of brushed it away. And as this whole thing happened in the last couple of years, because I was feeling great, feeling healthy, and shifting away and moving the energy. And what I understood was, wait a minute, we do need more support with what is going on in the world right now in our bodies for many, many reasons. And this is why I'm so thrilled today that our guest, Ken Swartz, the scientist who's behind. Now, trust me, you know me, guys, before I bring anything out, I try it and I try it and I try it. So I tried a lot of, let's just say, not so strong ones until I discovered, and I will show you if you haven't seen it, the C60, the purple, because I put this in my body, and he doesn't know this because we haven't had a chance. But when I started taking it, all of a sudden, all the stuff started to shift energetically and on a physical level. So he's a scientist, and I'm going to give you the energetic side. So we're going to have some fun today and dive into this. So Ken, I'm really excited that you're here today. I am
glad to be on.
I am so happy you're here because one of the things that I talk a lot about to people, and you have put this in a nice little bottle, is in the body, is the world is full of stress and the world is full of unexpected events, as you know. And when that happens, the vagus nerve system, goes down. And when the vagus nerve system goes down, what goes down? The mitochondria. And when the mitochondria goes down, well, we know all the illnesses and the diseases. And I always feel we need at different times in our life support. So when I actually, as these last 2 years unfolded, I kept hearing and feeling you're going to have to put some more support in the body because, we're in our world, we're looking at grounding and what's going on in the emotions and the body, but we always need support. So I'd gone down this rabbit hole of revisiting C60. What is this about? And how can this help my body more on a supportive level? And then didn't work. No, that doesn't feel good in my body. And then I discovered yours. And when I put it in my body, I'm like, wait a minute, I even got more energy. Something, this is actually working. So I want to start here with, how did you come about creating your version of C60? Because it's very different from the other ones that I've tried.
Well, it started out on basically I started making it for family and friends. And I was a research scientist and we were working on a metal oxygen fusion reactor. And a lot of people that worked on it before had bad outcomes. So I went looking for something that would protect from radiation. And I discovered this stuff called C60. And, they gave one set of rats got C60, the other didn't. They hit them with like a fatal dose of radiation, and all the control rats went away, and the C60 rats, they lived. And so when I heard about that, I said, oh, that's the stuff for us. So I made sure I had a bunch for my crew and myself when we were doing the experiments, which came out successfully. But I just kept doing it afterwards, a little bit at a time. I wasn't really that faithful to it. And I went into my eye doctor about 7 months later, and my DRUs, or dry macular degeneration, had disappeared.
Wow.
And which, he was kind of surprised because he had never seen that in his many years of practice. And of course, by that time, my friend Gary Rodriguez, he was our electrical engineer on the project. He had developed wet macular degeneration. And, I see we used to have up before and after pictures on that, but some people say, you can't have that would be too much of a health claim. But, he had lesions all on the inside of his eyeballs. And so he was taking like a tablespoon of C60 purple power in coconut oil. It wasn't C60 purple power at that time, by the way. It was just, and after a year, his wet macular degeneration, all the lesions on the inside of his eyeballs healed up. And so, and it was really, I was just started making it for family and friends. And then my alternative healthcare people started using it, and then they gave it to their customers, and one thing led to the other, and now we have a company.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about the macular degeneration. So my grandfather-in-law, like he went right on, like he had full on macular degeneration, went blind, everything. And I actually watched what the medical community had, like all the needles and the things they gave him. And then his daughter showed up with it. So then, she ended up going down, but it never changed anything. Like nothing changed. So I didn't know that. I love hearing that story because nothing did change. Okay. So you were talking about a powder, and now we've got, this C60. So for somebody listening who goes, okay, that sounds great. What is this? So what is C60 for the person that goes over their head? What is it?
Well, C60, it's also known as Buckminster fullerene or carbon 60, and it's 60 carbon atoms shaped exactly like a little soccer ball. If you're watching the video version of that, you can see behind me, they have a picture of it, kind of what it looks like. And it's kind of a round cage-like structure. And it's kind of unique that it pulls like little hydrogen ions, positive hydrogen ions from the outside environment and stores it on the inside. And that allows it to neutralize oxidative radicals, which are negatively charged. They usually have an extra electron, and then that electron goes out tearing things up in your body. But C60 is unique that it's a selective antioxidant. So it really only deals with two oxidative radicals in your body. And one is superoxide, or some people call it superoxygen, and that's an oxygen with an extra electron. So that's the biggest, most powerful damaging oxidative radical you can have. C60 neutralizes that immediately, just takes the electron away, turns it back to just a regular oxygen, and then it takes that electron, gives it to one of those positive hydrogen ions, which turns it into hydrogen gas, which then itself is also hydrogen gas. It's also an antioxidant, so you get like a double bonus there in that case. And then the second most powerful and damaging oxidative radical in your body is a hydroxyl radical. And that's basically an oxygen. You remember H2O from chemistry. It's basically where a hydrogen has been torn off the water molecule, and all that's left is the electron, which is highly reactive, right? Causes damage. C60 will just release one of those hydrogen ions from its cage-like structure and stick to the negatively charged hydroxyl radical, turn it back into water. And C60 can reset itself again and again and again. And one of the best things about C60, it doesn't interfere with signaling molecules, because in your body there's certain reactive oxidative species you need, and then there's antioxidants. You have to have a balance there. And C60 only interacts with like superoxide and hydroxyl radical, but it doesn't interfere with any of the signaling molecules. So you can't ever overdose or have a negative effect from C60. Even they did scientific studies, they did 10,000 times what a person might be taking. That's like 1 gram per kilogram.
Yeah.
And even at that rate, there was no negative effects whatsoever. So it's perfectly safe at virtually any level.
I'm really glad you said that, because I did have some people that had sent me some questions. They're like, how much can I take? And is it too much? And one of the things I noticed, so on an energetic, I always look at the body energetically. And what I noticed, and you said this, what it felt like was that when you take the C60, for people listening, it was almost like, when they would give charcoal to somebody who overdosed to get out of the body, so to pull it out, right? It was almost like it was just going in, like you said, you could see it. It was capturing those little toxins and just taking them out of the body. So and that's exactly what you described. So I'm like, wait a minute, that's what I was seeing, it was just capturing these toxins and moving. And we have so many toxins, as you know, that not only are we walking down the street, like all these people that say, I eat really clean. And I'm like, well, do you walk outside? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, what about you don't breathe in the car fumes or wherever? There's toxins everywhere. And I just find, like, with the amount of stress people have, this mitochondria I'm seeing it in people, like they're going down left, right, and center right now with their stress. Can you explain on a scientific space why the mitochondria is so important? Like I say it, but people kind of over the head, but as a scientist, why this is so important, C60, in helping to build the mitochondria?
Well, mitochondria are little organelles in your cells, and they're basically the powerhouse of your cells. It makes the ATP, for which all the energy, which is 95% of the energy that your cell runs. So if your mitochondria aren't working right, you don't have the energy for your cells to function. But the mitochondria just don't do that. They also make some real key ingredients to help your body. One is pregnenolone, which is the precursor molecule for all the hormones. And then they also make little precursor molecules for basically constructing DNA and RNA. So if your mitochondria aren't working very well, well, you're not going to have hormone production. You're not going to be able to repair and build DNA and RNA, and you won't have energy because you don't have the ATP you need. So healthy mitochondria are really the key to cellular health.
And the key to de-aging, I'll say. So I'm 50, and I'll say a lot of people since even taking this. So I've been regenerating, but I've noticed. So it's funny, since taking this, I did a class last weekend, and someone's like, did you get like cheek implant, like little plumper? I'm like, I don't put that crap in my body. You know that. And they're like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I have one hydration mask. It's natural. And the only thing I put in my body is C60. They're like, what? Because people have noticed, they don't know what. So people listening, I know it might sound a little vain, but you don't want to, everyone's like, well, how do I de-age? You don't need to buy a million. You got to get inside the body. You don't need all these creams and lumps and plumps. And this is what I've noticed about the C60 is you're right. The energy. I've noticed another level of de-aging that it was like, what the heck? And you sleep better. You sleep way better. And so that carries forward. And if we can prevent or do something in our systems, which I'm always a big advocate of preventing, not, well, I shouldn't say prevent, but we're all going to age at some point. But I don't think we need to age the way society has told us. I think we can age very gracefully and just lay our head down and leave. That's, I think, how the body's supposed to be. Just, okay, I have this joke I always say, so not to be to other, I always say to people, you have two ways to die. You can die having an orgasm, or you can put your head on the table and just go to bed. And that's it. That's it. Like, not this age, can't walk, I'm in diapers. Like, that's not it. And I've noticed that with what you've developed here. And I want to actually, there's a few things I do want to ask. So you were talking about you can't overdose. Now I know when you get it, it says, oh, take, a quarter of a teaspoon. And I'll tell you, people who haven't started yet, I have to agree, take a quarter of a teaspoon. Like, it hits your body the way it detoxes. And then you say up to a teaspoon. So why would people take more? What would be the incidences where they would take more? Because I find a teaspoon for my body is just perfect. But what
Yeah.
would be that reason?
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's different amounts. Yeah, it's taking more at some point. More isn't going to take you any further,
Yeah.
but you don't have to worry about like toxicity issues on the level. So one thing it has a stimulatory effect. So that's why we say take it in the morning, because if you take too much, you can get the zoomies, like everything is just rushing around because you got all the energy going. And so that's something you have to be
I
careful.
took it one time at about 8 o'clock. Now I'm a person, I have one cup of tea or a little coffee in the morning. But if I have anything after 2, like any caffeine, I'm like, zoom, zoom, zoom. And I took this, I was like, oh, I forgot to take this, but I took it at 8, not thinking that. And I had the zoomies. I was literally up till 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh boy, I shouldn't have done that. So if someone feels inclined that they want to take a little bit more, or maybe they're going, I've been cleaning out my body, they're eating right, they've added this, and say they feel like they want to take 2 tablespoons or 2 teaspoons, is it something that they can, then you're just saying it's okay? Because I've had people ask me that. They're like, just, is it okay if I take a little bit more? I said, I don't know. I just follow what they say because that feels good to my body.
Oh yeah, it's fine. You do have the effects, the zoomy effects. I mean, we had a doctor's that was doing like 2 ounces at a time.
Wow.
Yeah, because doctors like that and crazy
Yeah.
like that. But he was having really weird things. He was saying he was like turning telepathic.
Yeah.
He could
No,
his
no.
wife's thoughts and just knew things were going to happen before they happened. So he had that. Of course, we've had other reports like that from
I've
psychics,
noticed.
doctors.
Yeah, I notice I channel 24/7, and I'm channeling. There's things that are opening and happening to me in that space. One of the things, because I'm so in tune with my body, one of the things I did notice was I was getting more like almost as someone was pushing on my head, right? But what I was noticing, it was opening and activating what most people would call, I don't know if you know that, I was seeing it energetically, they would call it like junk DNA or whatever. Well, I always say we don't have junk DNA. We're perfect. Like, that's just a myth. Like, we are all perfect. It's just stuff that isn't activated. But when I started to, but I didn't get that with other C60s. I have to tell you, I was like, this is dead. This is like, you've done something different here, because when I landed on yours and I was like, okay, something's different, I was noticing that my channeling ability was changing. My physical body was changing, and in ways that I was already happy with how everything was, but it took it to another level that I didn't see. And I'm not to knock people. That's not what I'm doing or what they're doing or whatever it is. Something's different. I mean, is that your secret sauce?
What we do is, I mean, we get like all organic oils that are
Yeah.
farm sourced, so we know where they're coming from. So we get the very best oils because our family and friends are using this.
Yeah.
And then we also use sublimated C60. Now
Okay.
there's different ways to make C60. Sublimation is like evaporation. And it's basically when a solid turns to a gas and then back to a solid. So when C60 is made pretty much the way it's made in giant red stars, you put it in like a little light helium atmosphere, a couple carbon rods, and electricity runs through it, and it turns about, if you're lucky, 10% into C60. Then you got to separate, and that's the big difficulty. That's why C60 costs more by weight than gold, because it's hard to separate it. And so some people use solvents like methylbenzene, toluene, which is, kind of a nasty solvent, and then they run it through diffusion columns. That's one way. The other way is sublimation. You basically just put it in the sublimator, you pump it out, so it's almost a vacuum in there, and then you heat it up to 400 degrees Celsius, and it sublimates into a gas, floats to the other side of the sublimator where it condenses, and that's how we get 99.99% C60.
Wow. So what about the different carrier oils you use? Are they just, does it matter? Because people ask me that too. They're like, I love, now this one, I always have the olive oil, but I'm just very a big fan of olive oil. So that's the one that I used to take little olive oil anyways. I eat so much olive oil. It's crazy. But I have had that question. How come there's different ones? Does it matter? Like, what's your point of view on that?
Oh, I think we kind of have the Goldilocks point for oils. Now, there's some things. That's one thing. A lot of times we get on, I talk about health issues and things. Like one of the real problems we have is seed oils in our diet. That's one of the number one health causes. Get that seed
Really?
oil, and that whether it's soybean oil or cottonseed oil or canola oil or safflower oil or a couple others, those oils. These seed oils are really heavy in omega sixes, and so they're inflammatory. So,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's what you don't want. And so, but then there's other things which are like the omega-3 oils, which are really good for you, which say fish oil or flaxseed oil or hemp seed oil. The only problems with those is they go rancid really rapidly.
They
So if you
do.
were to put it in a bottle and not refrigerate it all the time, you would have a rancidity problem. So we kind of have the Goldilocks position. We have olive oil. I mean, olive oil is the Mediterranean diet. It's been used by people for thousands of years. It's really super healthy for you, and we all know about it. In fact, that's what all the C60 was originally made, in olive oil, but which is, because it was well characterized and it's common and available. But
Yeah.
the problem is if I was to take, like, let's say, an ounce of olive oil, I might have to go visit the bathroom because I have a slightly sensitive digestive system. So I looked around, and there's also an oil that I can take, which is it's a little bit more easy, is avocado oil.
Mhm. Which is good oil.
Mhm.
Very good oil.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then the other oil we picked up was MCT coconut oil. And for those people that don't know, MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. And so it's like an extract of coconut oil. And they're basically 10 and 8 and 6 carbon chain lengths on the triglycerides. And what your liver can do is turn those short chain triglycerides into ketones in your
mhm.
liver instantly, and then your cells can use that as an energy source. So like my friend Gary, he had like type 2 diabetes, and what you can do is, you have glucose resistance in that, and the cells can't get the energy, and you get health problems. If you've got MCT coconut oil, the liver will turn into ketones, and your cells can use those ketones as an instant energy source. And so for that kind of people and athletes, they really like the MCT coconut oil. So we have it in that variety too.
Well, and they probably use it a lot too, because with the whole keto way, people are always talking
Oh
about it.
yes.
And see, MCT oil does to me what olive oil does to you. So see, that's why I think I go back to the olive oil, because I don't mind the MCT, but I like what you said, because with so I'd like to talk a little bit about what you've seen with health issues. Like you said, you were talking about the macular degeneration, the type 2 diabetes. This is because I say to people, it takes time. This is where I think people forget when you have an illness in the body, which come from a lot of those oils you're talking about too, right? People are in fast food foods, they're eating all this stuff that is clogging up their arteries, wondering why they're having heart problems, liver problems. Type 2 diabetes, I think, is one of the biggest problems in North America because of all the junk food and the sugar and everything and those oils. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are looking for quick fixes. But I'd love to hear what you've seen around different health issues, because I think right now, well, I don't think I know, and I've been saying this for years, with what we've been going through the last few years and what we're going to transition to, your health is number one. Anyone who knows, like I've had near death experiences, like you take your health serious. I had to have a few before I started taking it like serious. But once something shows up in the body, so let's go say type 2 diabetes, it took a long time for it to get there. There's a point where then all of a sudden the toxins build up and boom, now you've got this in your face. So when someone notices that and they're saying, okay, how can I use the C60? What do you recommend for them? Because it's sort of like, guys, it's not going to, you're not going to take 1 teaspoon and it's done. Like you have to let the body clean out. Correct.
Yeah, C60 is an antioxidant, a very powerful one. And but it really what it does, it just lifts the oxidative burden that your cells are under so your cells can heal themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not a magic pill.
No.
People have to realize if you want to get good health, you're going to have to eat right. You're going to need to eat organic foods. You need
Yep.
to drink pure water. You need to breathe clean air. And of course, and then you have to avoid a lot of the toxic situations that I mean, we have the radiation, the 5G and other types of electromagnetic radiation, which is a billion times higher than levels, we were used to. And also you've got, well, obviously the air pollution, the
Yep.
water pollution. That's why really good pure water is important, and also toxic personal solutions. I mean, people can be in toxic relationships, and maybe it started well, but maybe it isn't so good. I mean, that puts people under huge stress.
Oh,
And
toxic relationships are not only they're people. I always say they're people, places, and things. So your work, your relationships, your friends. Yeah, they're usually, I call them parasites. They can be the worst parasites ever.
yeah, so those things you need to clean up, and C60 can help you in
Yeah.
your pathway to health, but it won't. It's not like a magic pill that'll cure you. And you are correct that the longer you've had something, the longer it's going to take for your body to heal it. And remember, it's your own cells that are doing the healing.
Yeah.
C60 is just lifting the burden, and the nutrition that you're taking is just providing the materials. But your cells have to do the work, and so that's really the key to health. Oh, and exercise, right? The whole exercise
Well,
thing. All of these things go together.
they do. And a lot of times people, they do that. And that's what I don't, and I'm glad you said that, because that's what I'm at a point where I'm like, people, you have to take responsibility for your life. You have to look at the toxicity. You have to move out of your life. Like you said, you got to put things in the body that are healthy. Like you can't just be going and eat, and I shouldn't say that, they'll get mad. You can't go eat fast food every day and, sit there angry every day and think that you're going to put in something like C60. It will probably, from what I've seen energetically, it will sustain you a little bit longer. But if you want to really reverse and repair and regenerate and restore your body, it is part of, I say, your toolbox. I always say there's a toolbox. And in that toolbox, what are you doing to better your life? And this is a tool in the toolbox. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, that would be correct. And I mean, the things you'll notice first is you get more increase in energy.
Yeah.
First off, because you're now getting the ATP. Because as we get older, the SOD, superoxide dismutase, that's what your mitochondria use and your cells use to get rid of superoxide. And glutathione's the same thing. It's usually that's main one that goes after the hydroxyl radical. Well, those go down as you age. And so you take C60, C60 gets in those cells, and now it's taking care of superoxide and the hydroxyl radical, which really lifts the oxidative the burden that your cells are under, and then they can function thing. But there's other things like you're making pregnenolone. Now your hormone levels are going to rise, but it's not like hormone replacement therapy where you just get one hormone or maybe two hormones. It goes everywhere. So in your pineal gland, you're going to get more melatonin. In your pituitary hypothalamus complex, you'll get human growth hormone and like the dozen other master hormones that come out of there. In your thyroid, you'll get you'll get increased thyroid. Like one of our Sierra, she's the marketing, all things marketing for our company. And when
Mhm.
she came to the company, she had zero thyroid function and had been that way for a couple decades, right? That happened in early 20s. She got Hashimoto's, and that happens to a lot of people. Okay, it's been about 3.5 years on C60, and she's gotten rid of 2/3 of her thyroid medicine. And
See,
so it's back.
that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
And what we think what's happening, and we've seen this too. We've had customer reports where they got like 30% kidney loss, right?
yep.
The nephrons are down. The nephrologists tell them, oh, it's just going to get worse. They come back, call us back 6 months later and said, whoa, I'm back to 100%. And we have the same with liver. We have all of these. These are anecdotal. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm a research scientist, and I can't give medical advice. And when I'm talking about stuff, it's anecdotal. Now, there's
We're
a
just
lot.
sharing, guys. It's always like when I say talk about finances, I'm just sharing. I used to be in the financial world. I'm like, I'm just sharing my knowledge. You can take it whatever you want, guys. We're just sharing our experiences from a scientist on an energetic perspective. We're just sharing.
Well, I want to talk like some of the research. This is, people, C60 was discovered in 1985, right? And it solved an outstanding mystery in astronomy. It's made in meteoric impacts on the Earth, lightning strikes, even the burnt wick of a candle is like 0.25% C60. But it took a while. They got a Nobel Prize in 1996 for it, but it was really hard to make and there wasn't much around. And so finally they had enough of it. They found ways of making it. And then they started doing animal testing because here's this strange molecule we don't really know anything about. Let's test it. And like on one, it's like the main one's the Botry study, and they gave it to animals, and it doubled the lifespan of the test animals. Now these are Worcester rats. They're kind of like wimpy rats, and usually die of like cancers and other diseases associated with aging. Well, when they took C60, none of those things happen, and that's basically why they live long, happy rat lives, double their regular lifespan. And the same way and so then from there they went into a whole like did with mice. They put it in their water supply and increased their lifespan there, and it based by completely preventing cognitive decline. And they just gone on and on. And I mean, there's a handful of studies, like the Japanese did one, and they put it on topically. Women put it on topically, and it's noticeably reduced wrinkles and stuff.
Oh,
Because it
great. Now you're gonna have everyone going topically internally.
and then they also found that it would regrow hair on not so much on male pattern baldness. It seemed to slow it down, but especially with people, especially women that have had for various reasons have hair loss, or people that have hair loss that shouldn't be having hair loss.
Yep.
They found topically applied C60 significantly increased hair growth. And also they found like in human cells in test tubes, basically they found that it really was UV protected the cells from UV, which would be a topical use.
Yeah.
And also it prevented the overaction of mast cells and neuroblasts, which are like the ones that cause allergies. And so we
Yep.
have lots of people that take C60 and their allergies go way down because it kind of moderates the immune response. So you don't get you don't get the cytokine storm where it's like smash, everything goes out of control. It's more balanced. And we've noticed a lot of people like with celiacs and all those other diseases that you'll mention, they call us and say, well, I'm feeling much better. My digestion is hugely a thing. And because, well, C60, it's once you lift the oxidative burden, cells can heal themselves. And basically the epithelial lining on your intestine, I mean, so much of what we have now is leaky gut or damaged gut syndrome. I mean, when
100%.
you're eating the glyphosated corn or glyphosated wheat or glyphosate in almost
Yeah.
every grain, it goes down there and it damages the microbiome biotic in your gut, damages your gut lining. And then when your gut lining's damaged, it leaks and stuff that shouldn't be in your bloodstream is now in your bloodstream. And then you have all kinds of autoimmune problems, all kinds of inflammation, and C60 gets in there and, because it gets rid of the oxidative radicals, which are the main cause of inflammation. It kind of stops it before it starts. And so you don't have that cascade of damage.
Yeah, because inflammation is a real problem. Like everybody's inflamed. You see so many people now too. And like you say, they're talking about, I'm so bloated, like they're always bloated and the whole body is inflamed. And I know a lot of people that I see that are and when you have inflammation in the body, this, your brain function goes down. Like you're not thinking, you have foggy brain. So you have all these other things that are going sideways. And the other thing that you touched on that I see a lot with people is, and it's actually, was a thyroid. So people have a huge increase of thyroid problems, which is also done with the fluoride in the water and the food, but it's also done on purpose on an energetic perspective, because when the thyroid goes off, the thyroid is one of the points of the body that's actually very connected to somebody's higher self, their spirituality, and where it is. So you can see how all this stuff now taking off the thyroid, brain fog, like you're saying, when that goes away, you're making better decisions. You're able to function, have better conversations when you have that energy. And I see a lot of what do you recommend with children? Because I see a lot of children now that have, like when I was a little person, and you probably know, so you're little, we didn't have peanut allergies and walnut allergies and bread allergy, like but our parents, I grew up in we were in a farming kind of community. There wasn't they made the bread from scratch, and the flour and everything is still pretty good. And now we're seeing children with so many allergies and gut problems. What do you recommend for parents with their children?
Well,
Because this is a big problem right now.
well, that would be an adult choice. C60 is an adult choice. It's not an
Yeah.
FDA approved thing. So if people want to do that, it's got to be a choice as a guardian or parent to make that choice. And so I can't directly speak to the whole children thing. But
Yeah.
one of the things is
Yeah.
this.
Oh, oh gosh. Yeah. What,
What
you know
is it?
what? I'd like to talk about that. I know that's how we can say NC60, because I see it actually can help in different ways. What's your point of view on that and your
Well,
thought?
like let's say for peanut allergies,
Yeah.
the main oil they use in this
Yeah.
is peanut oil. So
Is
yes,
it
of course,
really?
yes,
I
yes.
didn't know that. I'm so, that thing just disgusts me, but yeah, okay, I can't go there,
So
but I
so
didn't know that.
you mix it with all this other stuff to cause an immune reaction, right? So it'll react to anything that's associated with that. And that's a lot of the problems people have, especially like the leaky gut thing. So if you're with food allergies, you shouldn't have the food allergy, but if it's leaking into your gut, then it identify that food as your enemy, right?
Yeah.
And then now you have a food allergy. And that's the thing. One thing, just a little tip, I'm not a medical doctor, can't give medical advice, but one of the things is if you avoid eating a food, only eat it only once every 4 days,
Mhm.
you won't get into that cycle. It's when you constantly eat the food every day or every other day, that's when you'll get that thing. But basically after 4 days, your immune system is usually going after something else, forgets about the old one, and then you don't get that's just like a little, I don't know, folk wisdom sort of thing.
But it is true. And actually, on an energetic point of view, it is, from when I was looking at the energy of the body and how all the organs talk. And, that's been my space. Right. And so it's very, very true. And what people forget is when you put proper stuff in the body and you're eating proper and you're exercising and you're getting like nothing, we know nothing can live in a really good oxygenated body, like little things, but they'll come and go. Right. And people forget, like energetically, your organs, if treated properly, can repair. Like, look at the liver, it can repair and regenerate within a year. Like, your whole system constantly, it's so smart. I don't even think we've opened up a fraction yet of what our body can do. Like, we are just so used to giving it away, giving it away. I've seen miraculous things unfold, not in my body, but many people I work with on an energetic perspective, but they don't even realize it. It's like this mentality is brainwashing that you're going to get older and all your organs are just going to get really old and really decrepit and really wrinkly. And then you're going to get really sick and you die. And that's what I was saying at the top of the show. When I look at the body, it's constantly repairing. It wants to regenerate, but it's our thoughts, it's our feelings, and it's what we're putting into our body and our emotions that are making it looking old and decrepit. Would you say?
Oh yeah, and a lot of people don't realize they really there's a lot of, well, inflammation. There's a lot of chronic inflammation have. We're all familiar with acute inflammation. You sprain your ankle, it swells up. It's all part of the healing process, right? Immobilizes it, you stay off. But one thing people don't know is when you have that inflammation response, it also suppresses dopamine,
Yes.
and which is kind of like the motivation molecule, the happy molecule. Because in nature, if you got an acute thing, your body doesn't want you to get up and walk around on it, right? It wants you to lie there and heal. So it naturally suppresses dopamine, which is the motivation molecule, one of the happy molecules, right? However you want to characterize that. And so you lie around. Well, the problem is if you've got chronic inflammation, like in your joints, or it could be in your gut, or it could be, there's so many causes of inflammation these days in all the environmental insults we're subjected to. You don't even know they have that. And so once you get it, that's what a lot of people notice when they take C60, all of a sudden says, oh, I have more motivation. I want to go back and exercise. I want to go do the things that I used to do when I was younger, or before, I got ill. And part of that is, it's because C60 gets rid of oxidative radicals. The oxidative radicals start the whole inflammation process. And so if you cut it off before it starts, then that inflammation goes away,
Yeah.
your body can heal itself, and then dopamine production returns, and then all of a sudden you have the motivation, you have the happy feeling, you want to go out and do things, and kind of start living a life again.
Well,
And
and
that's,
like I say to people too, it's really good for, so I live in Canada where it's northern, it's cold. Not, I used to live way north where it would be minus 55 in the winters and dark all winter. And a lot of people would get depressed, right? Because it's dark, it's cold, it's whatever. And, having the ability to have something to help increase and make that happy, the happy gene come back, I like to call it. I think it's really important. And especially now, I don't know if you can speak to this or not, but have you had any thoughts or things you could share about the C60 with people that are concerned, that felt like they were forced to do this? Like, can it help with anything? I know we can't, it's kind of treading there, but is it just, because I get that question a lot from people.
it's
How can I
C60.
clean it out?
Yeah, C60 is a well, I don't, well, actually, if you're going to be forced to do that or something,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, if you were to fast for like 2 or 3 days before you had that, that means your body goes into like a critical survival mode, and
Mhm.
so it won't allow your mRNA, any mRNA that gets in there isn't going to be being used, because your body shuts down,
Yeah.
protein production to just the critical stuff. And so that stuff would just, it would say, oh no, we're in critical business. We ain't going to use that stuff. And it'll just get dissolved, because that goes away within like 2 or 3 hours. So it won't be able to get in there and start making the nasties. Right. And then the nasties make, of course, cause inflammation. And
Yeah.
C60 is anti-inflammatory. So it gets rid of oxidative radicals. So it will help reduce the inflammation caused by any particular nasties.
And help speed up that immune system. And I had, I learned about fasting when I started my journey back to health, and it was so powerful. And I didn't know, and I'm really glad you shared that for a lot of people. I didn't realize before, because I don't put anything in my body, right? I haven't for 18 years. Like, I think the odd penicillin, like here or there, that's been it when I lived on medicine. So that's a great tool, because I always say fasting, I found if there was anything in the body, until I actually started with your C60, that was the only other thing that I would go, okay, this cleans me energetically, mentally, physically, but it seemed to just wipe out whatever was maybe feeling like in the way, right? That caused by whatever came
Oh
into
yeah, because
so
you think about, your digestive system uses a huge amount of energy. So when you're
huge.
fasting, it's not using any of that energy, and then that energy goes elsewhere. And also your body starts, looking for autophagy. It starts looking for your cells inside your cells. They're looking for stuff to do. So they pull out the vesicles. There's a lot of, they're like garbage dumps in there, and they start going through what's useful, what isn't. Start dumping it out that isn't useful. Take the good stuff. It starts cleaning out everything in your cells, and also it minimizes what it's doing. Like, so cells go into critical functioning and don't do all this other stuff. And when you're fasting, and so they won't do a lot of other stuff, stuff that, maybe something wants you to do, if
Yeah.
if you're like a couple days fasting, and
Yeah.
it'll just pass right by.
Well, and that's awesome. And I did notice too, so even with fasting now, I still, like, I take in the morning, I'll have sometimes either my little, whatever my one little drink is, and then I take the C60, like I do. I just, and there I go. Like, I feel energized. I don't feel, well, I never feel hungry because I've been doing it for so long. But I think for people that, if you're new, it's a nice way to kind of probably put it together, and maybe use the MCT oil, right? C60, and could they put that in their coffee, I
Oh
guess?
yeah, it's like they
They
put
could, right?
MCT oil in the, the paleo coffee
Yeah,
or bulletproof coffee. They do that all the time for, that's one of the ingredients in that, because it's
yeah,
keto,
yeah,
right? So it doesn't really, because when you break your fast, I would like really encourage people to explore intermittent fasting.
yeah, me
So
too.
when I discovered intermittent fasting many years ago, it was I had a little bit extra weight, right? Like,
Yeah.
And, I tried everything. I did the three whites, no milk, flour, cheese, I did this and I did that. And, I'd get down to a certain level and it would just stop. Right. And that's all it is. And I did all these different things and until I discovered intermittent fasting. And that was the key, because then I busted right through that barrier and went down. I mean, for a while there, I was down at the weight I was in high school. Now I'm
Wow.
not totally perfect, as we all are, because sometimes you go to friends or sometimes but but you can get back on the track. If you do a little bit, next day, just have one meal a day
Yeah.
and stuff. And as you get older, the time window. I just turned 60 here not too long ago, so I'm on like about a 4 to 6 hour fast. And when I get a little older, I have to go to the one meal a day thing. When you're in your 50s or 40s, you can do the 8 hour thing. So
Yeah.
it kind of goes down in clunks. Eight. It's like an 8 to 10 hour seems to be a batch, and then if you want to go to the next level, it's like a 4 to 6 hour. Doesn't seem, and then the next hour gets like the one meal a day basically thing, and it's just part of how you keep healthy as you get older.
Well, and I think you and I are proof. So you have to look
Yeah,
at Ken and I, we're proof. Like
yeah,
C60 fast,
yeah,
you have energy and we don't look our age. Like it's just,
yeah.
it's beautiful because that's exactly how I said it before. We're supposed to not age the way they've told you, but age gracefully and with energy. And I believe like live to be 95 if that's what want to do, playing golf or doing whatever, tennis or running, swimming, whatever you like to do there. It's extremely important. And so that's intermittent fasting with your C60 is a fabulous plan, guys. I keep telling you that. It is, it's worth it. But it's proof, right? And the more
Yeah, yeah.
energy you have, the more you can get through. I wonder now, I've heard this from a lot of people, and I'd like your perception on this, that now because we are in this big transition, that it's getting harder for people to get C60 because it's like some of the stuff that people are noticing is working. And it seems that everything that's working to help the body, powers to be, are trying to like move it away. So what's been your experience with
Oh
that?
yeah, they've leaned on us a couple of times
Yeah.
and other things. Yeah, they don't like having you to have alternatives. And of
Yeah.
course, if anyone's been paying attention on the news, what's been going on and things that have been found effective in other countries that
Yeah.
have gotten rid of the bad thing
Yep.
have have been banned, because no, you're going to take this pharmaceutical that costs $3,000 a treatment. You're not going to get a treatment that's going to cost 20 cents
Yep.
because it's a generic possibility, right? So yeah, it's about the money. And it's
Yep.
about the greed. I mean, people will look back on this period 10, 20 years ago with just or even 100 years ago, 500 years from now, right? They're going to look back at this period and just be, say, how could they ever have, done this? Well, how could this criminality be allowed? There are the Nuremberg codes, and they will probably be
They will
enforced
win.
one of
Yeah,
these
they
days
will
by
win.
an enraged population, I imagine. Uh, so yeah, it's just yeah, they're trying to shut that all down, but it's kind of a race. The people are awakening, and they want to do this great reset where you will own nothing. Who owns nothing? Slaves own nothing. You
And
will
be
be a
happy.
slave
Yeah.
and you will be happy. Well, somehow I don't think people are going to be happy being slaves.
Well, I see there's a big uprise that's happening there. And this is why, and I say to people, get what you can now, because if there is something that they want to disrupt, like they're doing supply chains, and, we've all been, I woke up 18 years ago. So I've been called a whack job for a long time. And I'm now what we're living now. People from like that period were like, what? I'm like, trust me, that I always have a joke, whatever the powers to be or the governments tell you, do the opposite. I've been saying this forever because it's not about your sovereignty and it's not about your health and it's not about you being there. It's like you said, it's the slavery mentality we've had for 2000 years, that it will come to an end. Those things will show. It takes time, people. But what I'm also I keep saying is you need to be focused and you need to be healthy. And no matter what people are chasing, without your health, you have no wealth of anything. You're done. And if you want to be here for humanity and you want to stand up for humanity and our sovereignty and our freedom, you need to be healthy to do that. You need to have energy to do that. And that's what I like about putting C60 in the body. Like I said to you, I do not take it at night. He's right. You will have my dog gets the zoomies. Well, it's like that. It's like, okay, stop. You will have like so much energy. But it's really good because what it does is gives you clarity for if you have a project to do. Like I'm getting ready to launch my third book. And I will tell you that this book channeled and moved instantly. And I've been on your C60. Like the other ones, they were great. They took time. It always takes time to write them. But this one was just, even my editor's like, how fast did you pump that out? And I'm like, I just sat down, it just channeled, the energy just moved. And again, the only other thing that I've added is what your product is. That's how strong it is on an energetic perspective. Like it's very powerful.
Yes, it does that, and I'm glad that that's assisted you, and it can help other people in that way too. But
Yeah,
one of the things we always talk about is people need to take responsibility for their health.
they do.
Nobody's going to take responsibility for your health
Yeah.
but yourself, and it's going to take a lot of effort. It's not just going to happen magically. I mean, you just have to take the effort to get the right foods, to cook the right foods, to find that drinking water, to change your structure so you don't have toxic people in your life.
Yeah.
And or maybe sometimes you have to move sometimes to get out of a toxic environment. I mean, all of these things take effort, but if you're willing to take the responsibility for your own health and work for better health, you can get there.
Yeah, you really can. It's time and it's a process. And I always remind people you didn't get there overnight. So be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, and this will help. I know we're already almost at the top of the hour. What would you say for people with C60? Because this I can see the energy of it, but I would love your perspective. If they're struggling with, addiction, so sugar cravings, smoking, stuff like that, that they're just leaning on as a crutch. We know they have to deal with the emotional component because there's always an emotional component. But what have you found with C60 with stuff like that when it goes into the body?
Oh, it's really helped that people with, addiction problems, C60 really helps. I think part of it is the dopamine restoration of dopamine production, and also serotonin. That's another happy molecule. That's most of that is 70% of that's made in your gut
Yeah.
with symbiotic bacteria. So when you have a healthy gut, there's healthy bacteria, the symbiosis of the good bacteria, and then you get when your serotonin goes up, your dopamine's up, then your mental attitude, and you don't need those stimulant things. Those are a lot of things trying to replace what you used to have, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a false way of doing it that doesn't just makes it worse. But once you get dopamine and serotonin levels and you get health, then your desire for these things goes down, and we found that with a lot of people.
I love that. I have to tell you, as someone who lives in the world of energy medicine, um, and all people, one of the questions I get all the time, I don't know if you hear this, Liz, they want to open their intuition more, right? They want to open their connection more. And this truly does do it. And I know you said it earlier, but I want to repeat it because I hear this constantly is I want more of that. I want more of that interconnection, more of that ability of channeling. And I know you said you heard a little bit, but it's literally your Purple C60 is off the charts for helping that to recalibrate their actual connection. And I believe, I could be totally wrong, I'm not a scientist. I believe what I'm seeing happening in my body, that the C60 you've created is actually awakening. I know we're doing it energetically, but it's also helping to awaken what the elites call our junk DNA because it is so powerful for us as humans.
Yeah, it says something like that. People, psychics and other dowsers and other people, they say it gets rid of the static.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
So they can do whatever they do better.
Yeah. Yeah. It really enhances. And I love to with the human growth hormone, because that's another big one right now, guys. I just want to repeat that they kind of mentioned, because that's another thing I see people wanting to put a lot of stuff in their system to amplify their human growth hormone. And when you don't have to put all that other stuff in and just use the C60 and you're changing your diet and you're exercising and you're cleaning out your mental health, now your toolbox is nice and complete and you don't have to put in a whole bunch of a million other things.
Yes, and that's one of the things. But that's still, I personally, I do supplementation.
Yeah.
'Cause, micro. I think a lot of things like things people need, like micro minerals, micronutrients. And our food is so
It's
mined
so
out now with the industrial agriculture. You really
yeah.
just have to supplement, multivitamin, multi-mineral, and there's various other things you can do. Like especially if you live in Canada, you got to do the vitamin D and vitamin
Oh, you
K.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always saying, I've said for years in August, like download your, like, get your D in now, then you don't get sick. And when people start adding that and they take it consistently, there are things you definitely need. They're like, I didn't get the flu, I didn't get sick. And I'm like, well, because our D levels drop so badly by the end of August and in many places in the world. And
Yes.
you do have to supplement that for sure. But I always like, if there's certain things like that, like a good probiotic, because there are certain things that we're not getting from our food anymore. I make a very concerted effort to go to the farmer to get my meat, to get everything. And it's everything not in the food. That's how they promote themselves. So it's very clean, very organic, very good. But again, there are things we're missing still because in our soils and stuff. Yeah. We just can't get it.
Here in the United States, I don't know how much it is, kind of like magnesium. Most
Yeah.
people have a real magnesium deficiency in their life just because of the foods and the way that lifestyle. Another one is iodine. You got to be careful with iodine because you can overdo it.
Yeah.
And also zinc. Zinc tends to be zinc and selenium tend to be lower. That's why a good micro mineral supplement can just do wonders because you have to do it. I mean, if you were to live next to the ocean on an organic farm, and eating all wonderful healthy, you probably wouldn't have to need to do that. But
No, I
most of us
know.
don't live that way, so we have to supplement.
We do have to supplement. It's great. And I have to say, you guys also are really creative. I don't really want to, I've got so many of these little packages, but I don't know if you can see, but it comes in this great little box. You guys have done amazing, even on your packaging. I have my bottle, but I'll open this one anyway, so people can see, but you've done incredible. And it's all nicely packaged. It's fabulous. So people that don't know, when they open this, do they have to put it in the fridge? They keep it on their counter?
Well, you don't have to keep it in the fridge. That's why we chose the Goldilocks. Those are stable, healthy oils for you, and organic, stable, healthy oils. So that you can leave them. What we do say is we have it in the box, and usually if you don't store it in sunlight, because there can be some photo oxidation. So
Yeah.
just put it, use it, then put it back in the counter.
I
That's
put it in my cupboard.
don't need to refrigerate it.
This isn't on. I know this sounds weird to people, but I said to someone the other day, they didn't know what to get somebody for Christmas. And I looked at their body and I said, you should get them C60. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, because this is something that can help them. And they're like, they would take something like that. So I know it sounds odd. People are looking for Christmas presents, but why not give the gift of health? Like I always say that, because if there's a way that they'll take it, they're already about health. It's really important because it's something that is transformable and fabulous for the body. That's just my little, I know it sounds weird. Someone says, what, give someone C60? Well, I'd rather someone give me something that I know is going to help my body than a trinket from China that's going to just be thrown in the garbage. That's just my point of view. So I know we're at the top of the hour. You can, on our website and on the video below, we'll have links and we have a coupon code. You can just put in Tracy L. Clark. And then you can go to the c60purplepower.com and then / Tracy L. Clark. And we've got a code that we've set up for you guys. But so I'm so excited, and I'm not kidding. Like, this is a great Christmas present, like a great Christmas present. And then they're going to go, I get it. But what do you want to share with people about C60 before we get to the top of the hour? What do you want them to leave with?
Well, C60 is a great antioxidant, and it can really bring back balance in your life. But it's just a part of a healthy lifestyle choice. If you're looking to get better health, if you're looking, to move forward, kind of open up your mind to higher things. I mean, as a scientist, C60 restored my mental functions to when I was much, much younger. So you get that increase in energy, increase in mental clarity. Those are really the things that, and just all around motivation. You just feel better, and that's really the one of the greatest things about C60.
And you de-age. You missed the big one. You de-age. Like,
Oh yes, you do. Yes, we've had people that actually have their telomere length actually increases, average telomere length with C60.
yeah.
But that's a longer thing, but that's quite a part of what C60 does. It causes senescent cells in your body to go into apoptosis, means they check out.
Yeah.
And then they're replaced with stem cells. C60 causes a huge increase of stem cells in your body, which then replace through the whole apoptosis process. And so your body gets, you have new stem cells come in, and we've had so many people have had average telomere length increase. And so
Wow.
you're literally getting younger.
You're getting younger. I'm going to be 25 again soon. I mean, like, what do you do? Just put that stuff all over and down it. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming and joining for this hour and helping people to understand, because it's literally, this is the next, I see it as the next part of what we're going into for health and healing, as we leave the systems and they break down and they have to start again, and we move into all of this collaborative work with people like what I do, what you do, to get the bodies healthy and strong and to care. So thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for creating an incredible product. Like, I'm not kidding, guys. You know me, I'm very, very cautious. So I can't thank you enough for what you do.
Well, thank you a lot for having me on and letting me talk about the message of C60 to the world.
Yeah. So thank you, Ken. Guys, you got to go. And I will say that. So go to c60purplepower.com/, but Tracy L. Clark, but your coupon code is Tracy L. Clark. And I'm telling you, you will not be upset. So thank you. And it's also on all of our membership pages as well. And we'll put the links below for you too, so you can access them easily and effortlessly. If you have any more questions, we'll probably be bringing Ken back on, so you can keep submitting them, and I will keep asking him what your questions are. So have an incredible week, everyone. We will see you next week, same time, same place, for our actual, I believe we have a call-in show. So that'll be fabulous. We'll be answering your questions, shifting them, and getting you happy and healthy and wise. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Tracy L. Clark Show with me, Tracy L., where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L., will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.